Modi to visit Israel address Knesset. Germany's Merz arrives in China for two-day visit with focus on trade. Harry and Meghan arrive in Middle East. USS Gerald Ford arrives in Greece, sends clear signal. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Israel for the second time, highlighting growing ties between the two countries. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said India and Israel share a strong alliance, adding that the leaders will discuss expanding cooperation in several areas. Relations between the two countries have deepened during Modi's leadership, with both sides increasing trade and investment. Growing economic ties. India and Israel signed an investment agreement last year to boost business cooperation. Bilateral trade reached about $3.9 billion in 2024, while mutual investments stand at roughly $800 million, according to official figures. Visit amid Gaza war. Modi's visit comes as Israel's war in Gaza continues, with Palestinian authorities reporting more than 72,000 deaths and over 171,000 injuries since October 2023. The trip is expected to focus on trade, technology, and strategic cooperation between the two nations. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has begun his first official visit to China, aiming to improve trade ties and expand cooperation. Speaking in Beijing, Merz said Germany wants stronger economic relations with China, but also called for fair competition and open communication, especially as German industries face pressure from Chinese manufacturers. Chinese Premier Li Qiang urged closer cooperation between the two major economies and stressed the importance of free trade and multilateral cooperation amid global trade tensions. Small diamond new agreements signed. Germany and China signed several cooperation agreements, including deals on climate change and food security. Merz said both countries share global responsibilities and have strong potential for future growth. Small diamond trade imbalance concerns. Trade data shows Germany's imports from China rose nearly 9% last year, reaching about 170 billion euros, while German exports to China fell nearly 10% to about 81 billion euros. The visit signals Germany's effort to balance economic cooperation with China while addressing growing trade concerns. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have arrived in the Middle East for their first international trip together in 18 months, BBC reported. Prince Harry and Meghan will spend 2 days visiting Jordan to highlight efforts to support vulnerable communities affected by conflict and displacement. The couple, who stepped down as working royals in 2020, have traveled to Amman at the invitation of Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization (WHO). Their visit comes at time of crisis for the royal family following the arrest of Harry's uncle, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Harry and Meghan arrived on Wednesday morning and were warmly greeted by Ghebreyesus on the steps of WHO's country office in Amman. Once inside, the couple joined a roundtable discussion hosted by the WHO with individuals from leading bodies including the United Nations and many of its agencies, diplomatic representatives, and donors. The world's largest warship, the nuclear-powered USS Gerald R. Ford, has arrived in Greece on its way to the Middle East, signaling a major U.S. military buildup. The aircraft carrier stopped at Suda Bay, a key NATO base in Greece, to resupply before continuing east. The warship will later join another U.S. carrier group already deployed in the region. The deployment comes ahead of new nuclear talks between the United States and Iran in Geneva, as tensions remain high. The USS Gerald R. Ford carries more than 75 combat aircraft and advanced weapons systems, allowing the U.S. military to project power across the Middle East within hours. U.S. officials say the buildup is meant to strengthen diplomatic pressure on Iran, as Washington demands limits on Tehran's nuclear program and missile development. President Donald Trump has warned Iran to reach an agreement or face serious consequences, while keeping military options on the table. The deployment marks one of the largest U.S. military concentrations in the region since the Iraq War, signaling that the situation has entered a critical phase. Meanwhile, protests have continued in Iran, and the United States has begun evacuating some non-essential personnel from regional bases as a precaution. Overall, the carrier's arrival sends a clear message. The United States is pushing for diplomacy, but preparing for conflict if talks fail.